Stipulation number 3 regarding surveillance video from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard business. The stipulation is LAPD Detective Frank Flores, Carlos Camacho, and Luis Maria, along with LAPD Technical Investigation Division Technician Harry Lujan, downloaded surveillance video from the security office at the property management company for the business located at 6200 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood. The security office maintains security cameras on Argyle Avenue and on El Centro Avenue. The video was originally recorded between 10 p.m. on November 6, 2021 and 1 a.m. on November 7, 2021. The surveillance video contained in People's Exhibit 15 is a true and correct copy of that video. The system, video, date, and timestamp are approximately 2 to 3 minutes faster than actual time. These have been stipulated.
So stipulated by the press?
Yes, sir.
Means they get to skip all the foundation questions to let a video come in.
Yeah, I've spoken before.
Yes, we have.
You know, the witness stand at preliminary hearing in November 2023, right?
Correct.
By the way, let me just start out where you finished off. You had some questions about when you personally were made aware of one of the issues raised by the defense of Mr. Mayor's being in possession of a prop gun, and you said it was fairly recently before the trial started, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Obviously, you never spoke to Mr. Mayor's from the day of the incident until today.
Correct.
All right. You never spoke to 12E from the day of the incident until today.
Correct.
All right. You never spoke to Leavin from the day of the incident, correct?
Correct.
All right. You certainly don't know what Mr. Mayor Rocky has told his attorneys several years ago, do you?
I'm not aware.
Oh. And of course, you know, there's no depositions in criminal cases, correct?
Correct.
All right. So basically what you're being asked are questions related to discovery and disclosure in a criminal case, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. One second. All right, sir. So you were assigned to investigate this case, I think it was November 9th?
November 9th.
Of 2021, along with detectives Camacho and Matthew, correct?
Correct.
And you've been sitting here in court every day of the trial watching every witness?
For the most part, yes.
For the most part, yeah. And as a detective assigned to this case, you're familiar with all the police reports generated in connection with this case?
Yes.
And because police reports are relied on at hearings and trials like this one, as a case detective, you want to ensure that those reports are as complete and accurate as possible, right?
Yes, I mean, they are a summary of the information gathered, but there are other parts of the information that's gathered to go along with that, recordings, interviews, stuff like that, but it's a summary.
Sure. But you want that summary to be as accurate as possible, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And as a case detective, you spoke with other officers with knowledge about this case as part of your investigation?
Yes, we did.
And obviously,
Oh, Law and Crime is freezing. Their banner's still going.
for example, you reviewed and retrieved the video recordings pertaining to this incident,
Correct.
some of which we talked about and just seen, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. 16 Beast Del Mar is one, right?
Yes.
6200 Hollywood, is it Hollywood Boulevard?
Yes.
Hollywood Boulevard is another, yes, sir.
Correct.
All right. And you retrieved the Beast Del Mar video on November 9th, 2021.
That's correct.
Okay, and the Hollywood Boulevard video, I think it was a few weeks later, November 18th?
I believe that is correct.
Now, on November 8th, 2021, law enforcement received 2 9mm Luger shell casings from Mr. Ephron.
Correct. Per the initial crime report, yes.
Yes. And those shell casings were submitted to the fingerprint analysis lab about 2 weeks later on November 21st, 2012.
I believe that's when they were tested, yes.
You're familiar that the fingerprints can typically be left behind on bullets when they're touched and loaded in a firearm, right?
There is always a possibility anything that's touched can leave a fingerprint trace behind.
So the answer is yes, they can, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the latent print lab, the LAPD latent print lab unit completed its fingerprint analysis of those two shell casings on November 23rd, 2021.
That sounds correct.
All right. And after examining the casings provided by Mr. Ephron, law enforcement lifted exactly 0 fingerprints off them, correct?
That's correct. 0 prints were lifted.
So there were no fingerprints of anyone on those shell casings.
That's correct.
On April 20th of 2022, so we're fast forwarding a little bit, you secured a search warrant to obtain DNA swabs from Mr. Mayers.
Correct. That was included in the search warrant for that date that it was executed.
Right. And in order to obtain that search warrant, you swore to a judge that DNA from Mr. Mayers was clearly necessary for analysis for probable cause purposes as well as evidential purposes.
Yes, to include potential evidence that could be in custody or that could be collected at some point during the investigation. A comparison can be made. If any evidence that we have or collect along the way can be compared to.
Correct. And after getting the search warrant from Mr. Mayer's DNA, you took samples of his saliva on April 20th, 2022.
Yes, as part of that arrest, there were samples taken.
Right. And although you affirmed that DNA was clearly necessary as part of the case, law enforcement never submitted anything for DNA analysis in this case.
Correct. We didn't collect or have anything further to compare it to. At least there's. Correct.
You didn't think it was him.
The alleged altercation between Mr. Ephron and Mr. Mayers took place on November 6, 2021, around 10:17 p.m.
That law and crime is freezing again. Their banner's still up. So that's interesting. And we've got this 6-month gap between the time of the incident and the time of the search, but they get a probable cause.
Physical altercation
Warrant
lasted
for
about
saliva?
25 seconds, that whole thing.
Roughly.
Roughly. According to you, based on your knowledge from the investigation and your review of the videos in this case, after leaving the scene of the altercation at around 10:17, Mr. Ephron initially claimed he returned to the scene at around 11:09 p.m.
Object
For my case.
as to what he's talking about when Mr. Ephron
They're on accurate, 11:09, give a minute.
Look at Flores. He
I'm
said.
not sure about the exact time, but I think he roughly said within an hour of the incident.
Would you agree it's somewhere around the events of that time, 11:09? Okay, I can go to the preliminary hearing or just read the question and answer.
Here we go. Preliminary, guys.
object proper impeachment.
I'm trying not to be.
I don't see it as being impeachment. Why don't you just clarify what it was that...
Mr. Ephron told you 52 minutes more later, he came back to the scene, correct?
I don't recall him saying the exact time, but I do recall him saying roughly within an hour after the initial incident.
And you got that from watching the videos, correct?
On first review, yes, that's what I believe. It's consistent.
And I understand your testimony is now changed. You say you don't think it's him, but initially, you certainly thought that person you saw was him
Yes.
at 11:09, right?
Yes, that was my belief.
Okay. And to you, at least, that was Mr. Ephron in the videos.
That was my belief because it was consistent with the time frame that he provided.
Right, it was consistent with what Mr. Ephron told law enforcement.
Correct, within the hour estimate.
And that person, whoever that person was, Mr. Ephron initially said it was him, you believe it was him initially, leaves the scene at 11:11 p.m., 2 minutes later.
Roughly.
Reject the first part of this question, assumes the facts, not evidence.
No, it's not good evidence.
All right, stop. Read the question back.
And that person, whoever that person was, Mr. Ephron initially said it was him. Want me to read it again?
That's in
How do you
evidence.
approach it? I'm trying not to just conviction.
That's in evidence. He asked Relli about the preliminary statements that he gave.
You aren't so comfortable. I'm not really down, I'm not trying to mislead, but I'm just saying initially he said it was him. That's what my question was. I know now it's changed. Well, Mr. Ephron that second. But initially he said it was him. So whoever that person was, I started my question out with. Who Mr. Ephron initially said was him, left the scene 2 minutes later.
I don't know if it's evidence or not. I can't remember every single.
You just said it.
I would change the objection to being argumentative. If he wants to ask, did that person leave within 2 minutes, I have no problem with that. But we don't need.
But that's what he
argumentative
recited now.
getting to that question.
He said 11:11.
Hold on a second, I can do this easy. Did Mr. Ephron initially say that that was him?
I don't recall if he used those words exactly. I believe he made a comment that may have indicated that, but
Well, for instance, you were here when he testified at this trial.
correct.
Do you remember when he said at this trial from the jury that he was sure that that was him?
Yes.
Yes.
So, just a week ago, or a few days ago, Mr. Ephron said that was him, correct?
Correct.
So whoever that person was, that person that Mr. Ephron swore it was him to this jury initially, left 2 minutes later.
Roughly within 2 minutes, that person left.
Objection to prompt, as phrased.
Yes.
Through the objection. The judge specified you withdrew it.
And to be clear, you observed all the video footage that was recovered in this case.
Yes.
So if that is not, the new position is not Mr. Ephron, at least you don't think it's Mr. Ephron. Based on your testimony today, you have absolutely no video showing Mr. Ephron ever returning to the scene, correct?
Correct.
Huge. That's huge.
Now, amongst the video you reviewed in this case was
Yeah, this is
body
boom.
cam footage won by officers at the scene who responded to that night, correct?
Correct.
You watched that? Yes. sir?
Yes.
And you are aware, before Mr. Ephron or whoever that person was returned to the scene 52 minutes later, law enforcement had arrived.
Yes.
And certainly before, if Mr. Ephron returned to the scene, certainly before Mr. Ephron returned to the scene, law enforcement had arrived.
Correct.
All right. And the police arrived at the scene about 18 minutes after the incident.
Yes, roughly.
Okay. And there were at least 7 officers there.
Yes.
And while they were at the scene of the incident, 18 minutes after it ended, these 7 officers were canvassing the area.
Yes. They were walking in and about the area of Selma and this is the one.
And you saw them on the video searching the area of the altercation.
Adjacent parking lot. Yes.
Yeah. Using the flashlights,
Correct.
looking on the ground. You saw them.
Yes.
I know you know this answer, I've been asking that way. You know law enforcement did not cover any casings in this case, correct?
Correct. The officer that responded did not find or recover any cases.
No officers ever covered any shell casings.
No.
Right?
No. You're asking from the radio call, the officer that responded initially? No.
Yes. Or any other police officers recover any cases from the scene?
Only the officer at the front desk that who took the casings.
Yeah, no, my question was from the scene.
Okay. No, not from the scene.
In fact, they didn't locate any sign of shooting, correct?
Correct. Other than the radio call
But that's a call. And you heard Officer Zizzo testify, I think it's Sergeant Zizzo now. You heard him testify. A lot of people make calls or they can be misinterpreting things, correct? You heard that.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons. Sometimes people are just don't stick around after.
But in any event, you do agree that the officers who arrived 18 minutes later didn't locate any sign of the shooting.
That's correct.
And despite that, as shown on the video, after the police left and Mr. Ephron returned to the scene, he supposedly located the shell casings by himself without a flashlight within minutes.
I believe he said he used the light on his phone and he located him.
Within minutes.
Yes.
You were in this courtroom when Mr. Ephron testified that this individual named 12E had a knife during this incident, right?
Yes.
And you're familiar with the summary investigative report related to this case dated August 5th, 2022, sir? Yes?
Yes, I am.
And that's a collective sort of prior statements and a summary of the investigation overall.
That is that was a filing summary.
And that's what you use to file the case with the district attorney's office.
Correct.
Right. So obviously, in that report, you certainly wouldn't want there to be any accuracies, right?
Correct.
Uh-oh.
It relates to the crime, yes. Correct.
That's what relates to the crime.
Yes, sir.
Your name is on that report, right, sir?
My name is on the report.
And what you wrote in the last line, the first page of this report, the collective statements, is that the victim observed Ulunga, meaning ASAP Illz, was armed with a knife. Did you write that?
I didn't author this report.
Is it in that report?
It is in that report.
So some police officer wrote that.
Yes.
Who? Do you know?
I believe that was my partner, Detective Camacho.
Where'd he go? He used to be there, right?
He was in the back of the other property.
He's gone. But he was there. The guy was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, he's been here.
He's right.
He's in the room. Is he up next?
And it was brought to your attention during the preliminary hearing on November 20th, 2023, that this report said Mr. Ephron identified ASAP Illz as the one armed with a knife. We discussed that at the preliminary hearing, sir.
Yes, sir.
And if you thought that that report was inaccurate, you certainly could have asked for that to be changed at any point, correct?
Yes, sir. I mean, but honestly, yes, that was a mistake. But the prior interviews that were recorded of Mr. Ephron from the telephonic interview on the 9th and the in-person interview on December 17th, 2021, he was consistent on both interviews that the person with the knife was, in fact, 12E. The report prepared for that August filing, there was an error, and it did indicate the wrong person. That is correct.
Well, as I just asked you, if you thought that report was inaccurate, you could have asked that to change, correct?
Yes.
And you never did?
No, I mean, I answered your question. I mean, the record, I believe, captured through the interviews is clear what Mr. Ephron said versus what our mistake was.
No, it's not my question. Did you change your report?
No, we did not generate another report to correct.
So, you were here obviously last Tuesday, January 28th, when Mr. Ephron testified on the record that he saw a knife being held after Rocky put the alleged gun away, correct?
Correct.
All right. And with regard to the knife, Mr. Ephron told police in November of 2021 that he saw the knife being held while Rocky was pointing the alleged gun at him, and he was yelling at Rocky, right?
Correct. I believe that's the way it was described in that crime report.
So while Rocky's holding the alleged gun at him and pointing it at him, he's seeing a knife simultaneously.
He's seen it during that event, correct?
Not during that event. While the gun is being pointed at him, correct?
That's the way it's described in the report, yes, sir.
You also heard Mr. Ephron's testimony last Tuesday, January 28th, that he saw the knife being put away, and he then said, "What the F you got a knife for?" Remember that testimony last week?
Yes, sir.
And in November of 2021, Mr. Ephron told the police that only after he said, "Why you got a knife," did that knife get put away. Recall that?
I don't recall that specifically, sir.
I'll show you a report.
Okay.
It's 77 in our database. It's please follow the investigation report from November 9th, 2020.
Object.
Sustained. The objection is sustained.
What was it? Transfer?
It's improper because it wasn't his report.
This is not the proper person to either refute or confirm what Relli, Ephron told some other officer. So the objection is sustained. One second.
That was loud walking.
Okay, all right, move on.
Okay.
In any event, you saw an arrest warrant on Mr. Mayers on April 13th, 2022.
Correct, that's the date it was signed.
And to be clear, law enforcement received Mr. Ephron's complaint 5 months earlier, November 8th, 2021.
When we received it, it would have been the 9th, the initial report was taken on the 8th, correct?
The 8th or the 9th, whatever, 9th of November 2021, you guys, PD, like the station house guy, November 8th, right?
Correct.
On that same day, law enforcement received, November 8th, 2 9mm Ruger casings from Ms. Ephron.
Correct.
The next day, you along with Detectives Camacho and Henry spoke to Ms. Ephron again at Len.
Yes, telephonic.
By the way, that same day, November 9th, Mr. Ephron told you he decided not to become involved in Rocky's music business any longer. You understand that?
Transfer costs are hearsay.
I believe the statement's left.
And also on November 9th, 2021, law enforcement received surveillance video pertaining to the incident from 1616 East Del Mar.
Correct.
Now you see the video.
On November 18th.
This is where the knife comes into play.
And on November 10th, 2021, law enforcement obtained authorization to search T-Mobile information for Elijah Lunga or ASAP Illz phone number.
Correct, the research warrant. Correct.
Sorry.
Yes.
And specifically, the T-Mobile information law enforcement obtained authorized to search Illz, Elijah Lunga, ASAP Illz, his call detail records, and his GPS location.
Correct.
And the GPS location tab, I should say.
Yes.
And those records, the GPS location tab that you all were able to obtain, show that Elijah Lunga, ASAP Ill's cell phone, was near Selma Avenue in East Del Mar, approximately 10:12 p.m. on November 6th.
I believe that's correct.
And those records also show that Illz, I'm just going to refer to Illz so first, so move this along a little bit. ASAP Ill's cell phone was near Mr. Mayor's residence at 11:11 p.m. Later that night.
Yes, subsequently after this.
In addition to law enforcement gaining access, by the way, you also gained access to Mr. Ephron's cell phone, correct?
Subsequent to his arrest, the physical phone, yes.
Yes.
No.
No, Mr. Ephron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Correct, he did, voluntarily.
Right. That was in November 2020.
Yes.
Correct. So you had access to his phone.
Yes, we did.
By the way, did he mention that he had
823.
deleted any messages before you had that phone?
I don't remember asking him specifically if he had.
Could be
Hold
volunteered.
on. I think, did he say November 23rd or did he say November 2023?
Subsequent to his arrest, the physical phone, yes.
Yes.
No.
No, Mr. Ephron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Correct, he did, voluntarily.
Right. That was in November 2020.
Yes.
Correct. So you had access to his phone.
I
Yes,
can't
we
hear
did.
the year.
By the way, did he mention that he had deleted any messages before you had that phone?
I don't remember asking him specifically if he had.
Could be volunteered.
I don't recall that it was volunteer.
Particularly with the guy who was making the complaint about. this guy, this Ephron, he mentioned they had to leave messages between me and him.
Correct, nothing was volunteered as far as that.
And you wouldn't know to ask that, obviously, right?
He was cooperative and provided his phone. Via analyst.
You wouldn't know to ask that, I said.
I wouldn't know.
And the information on that phone contained Mr. Ephron's communications, as far as you knew, with Mr. Mayers, with Illz, and Relli.
Correct.
And as of November 2021, law enforcement had Mr. Ephron's statement, one, correct?
Correct.
Cell phone records, two, yes.
I believe so, by that point.
Video of the incident.
Some of it is correct.
Well, which video did you not have by the end of November 2021?
On range.
The end of November, correct. I actually November 17th. That's
No. So, because the last video you got on November 8th, right?
Correct.
So let's again. In the month of November 2021, you, the collective police officers and law enforcement,
correct.
had Mr. Ephron's statement. Yes.
Yes, sir.
You had cell phone records in this case.
Yes.
You had video of the incident.
Correct.
And you had 2 shell casings provided by Mr. Ephron.
Correct.
But you still waited another 5 months until April 2022 to arrest Mr. Mayers.
Yes, I mean, there were other factors involved.
Yes or yes?
Yes.
And during those 5 months, from November 2021 until Mr. Mayer's arrest in April of 2022, law enforcement recovered nothing else, no additional evidence to use against Mr. Mayers, correct?
Correct.
In fact, during those 5 months, law enforcement never contacted 12E, never tried to find 12E or contacted him, correct?
No, we never were able to contact him.
Able, did you try?
No, I'm sorry. At that point, no.
Okay. And you understood that 12E was present during the incident, obviously?
Correct. We understood. They were present. They were all appointed.
And obviously, he would be an important potential witness in this case.
Could be.
Who's that? Right?
Yes, sir.
And you testified as the case detective, it's your job to look for all relevant information, right?
Correct.
So to be clear, you arrested Mr. Mayers without even trying to speak to 12E.
Objection argument.
Sustained.
Let's now move over to the house search that you conducted, okay? So this was on April 21st, you conducted the extensive search of Mr. Mayer's residence, correct?
Yes, April 20th, 2022.
And during the search, aside from what we all saw, and we'll get into that when we ask you about those things, you also saw boxes in his residence, right?
I'm sorry?
Boxes, like cardboard boxes.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to just show you the picture of these things.
Moving.
You know, I guess we'll identify them as we go through the new exhibit to each one.
Oh, these have not been marked.
Correct.
All right, your next exhibit is W as in William.
Is it easier for you to see back there, or is it just being at it?
It's easier to see behind
Okay,
it.
so you can turn around with it. This is W, Jordan?
Yes, W.
Okay. That's one of the photos you see things packed in cardboard boxes there.
Correct.
Did you learn whether or not Mr. Mayers was in the process of a move at this point?
I was not aware that he was in the process.
How about the next one, Liz? That would be defense.
X as an X-ray.
You see those boxes there?
Yes, I do.
By the way, could I go back to the last photo, the W, I think? Those cardboard boxes that you see in this photo, did you search those?
The closed boxes, no.
I'm gonna just look for, I know you said on that, yes. Those boxes. Did you say?
Correct.
Oh, closed boxes.
Yes,
Oh, I
sealed
thought you
boxes.
said closed, okay, closed. Closed boxes, sealed, okay. So you did not search those?
No.
Okay, next, please. No, the other lessons. Okay, this one too. Did you search any of those bags or boxes there?
I don't recall going through them myself. I know the rooms that were gone through.
I'm sorry?
I did not go through that room myself. I don't recall going through that room. But I know each room was searched by part of the team.
So if that room was searched and those boxes were searched, would there be a report on that?
If there was anything, again, found relative to the investigation, like items that we were highlighted that were listed, yes.
Well, you agree that those sealed boxes obviously weren't searched, correct?
Correct.
All right. The next one, please, which will be defense.
Why, as in young?
Wise and Young. Same thing here, Wise and Young, as well as when that box wasn't searched right there, correct?
Correct.
All right. Next,
C's and zebra.
Leavin and Zebra. Those suitcases, were they opened and searched, do you know?
I don't recall specifically from my memory.
Next,
AA, Adam.
AA. Same question.
Correct.
Sealed boxes were not opened and searched, correct?
Correct.
All right. Is that it?
One more.
One more.
BB.
There's a lot of stuff. Hold on, I got to come up a little bit. A lot of colors and a lot of things there, but any of these sealed boxes that you see in the photo there,
No, sir.
they were not searched. And during the search, law enforcement did not recover a 9mm firearm, correct?
That's correct.
You did recover a Glock 9mm magazine,
That's correct.
and it was full, correct?
Yes, it was to capacity, 6
Right.
rounds.
Did you ever take the print off of that magazine?
No.
You ever printed that magazine?
No.
You're capable of doing that, correct?
Yes, sir, but since it came from his bedroom, I didn't have it processed.
Okay. And there were 6 Sig Luger 9mm cartridges, right?
In the magazine?
Yeah,
Yes.
in the magazine, right? The 9mm cartridges were not loose or anything,
No.
inside that magazine. And that 9mm magazine, those 6 cartridges in the box, they were found in the box containing other magazines and other cartridges that were not 9mm.
That's correct.
Can we show the pictures of the 2? So what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to show you real quickly something the jury's already seen, but you may have seen it too then. Just the pictures of the 2 shell casings recovered by Mr. Ephron and the 6 shell cases recovered inside the magazine.
Okay.
So the ones on the left there, or say C. You see those?
This is defense exhibit?
It is, right?
Okay, this is going
Mark
to
this
be
way?
CC, Charlie Charlie.
Okay, CC, right. So the ones on the left, right there, so yes, those are the Sig Luger 9mm cartridges.
Yes, these are the live rounds that were recovered from the magazine and contained within the magazine.
Okay. And those are different cartridges, obviously. The brand of the one on the right is what's called FC or Federal.
Yeah, FC Luger
Right.
on the right are the spent casings,
Right. And SIG is the other one.
and the live rounds are SIG, I'm sorry, SIG.
6 hour?
6 hour Luger.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay. You also recovered was 2 rifle magazines as well.
Correct.
As part of your investigation, you learned that Mr. Mayers was licensed to possess firearms. As part of your investigation, did Did you learn whether or not Mr. Mays was licensed to carry firearms?
Objection, false refusal.
Calls for yes or no.
Nothing I can confirm, but I heard he did.
You did, okay. And those two,
Anything after nothing I could confirm as being non-responsive.
Sustained, the answer's true.
and
Calls for
Is it
yes.
strict?
the two, the one gun, what was it called? You know the name of that 44 Magnum?
Does it equal?
Desert Eagle. Desert Eagle. That was Mr. Mays. That was registered to Mr. Mays.
Correct.
Registered to Mr. Mays.
Yes.
Object is again false or hearsay.
Overruled.
And the rifle is also registered to Mr. Mays.
Second objection.
Overruled. That's right.
Okay. Meaning legally registered to him, correct?
Yes, both those weapons are registered.
And the other weapon, gun, whatever you call it, that was recovered was the shotgun.
He's a shotgun.
And that was registered to an individual named Lou Leavin.
I don't
Oh,
remember who
that's
specifically
Leavin.
was registered to, but it was a legal.
It was a legal weapon.
Correct.
Also, all three were legal weapons.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, that shotgun was given back to its rightful owner before he left the scene, correct?
I don't recall that Mr. Levin took it. That's just my recollection.
Okay, it's okay. Well, what would refresh your recollection?
I don't know if there's any, obviously, Mr. Levin took possession of the house when we left. He took charge of the house, so what he removed after that, I'm not aware.
Okay. I'm talking about what he removed. I'm talking about what you removed. You removed the two guns registered to Mr. Mays, correct?
No.
You're saying you left them in the house?
Yes.
You sure about that?
Yes.
So you
Hold
left
on.
those two, the Magnum and the rifle in the house?
Yes.
And obviously the shotgun you left there as well?
Yes, those are all legal weapons. And
All legal
not part of what our search warrant encompassed.
Okay, okay. By the way, you never asked Mr. Ephron if he had firearms back in November of 2021, did you?
I don't recall asking him. I do recall making inquiries as far as runs or checks. And I don't recall finding any guns registered to him during that period of time.
We're on the read for the preliminary hearing, page 271, lines 2 to 4. Everyone's right.
What purpose is this for?
Impeachment, you just said, don't full ask.
It would be, it's not impeachment, it's a refresher.
Okay, refresh on that.
Just volume 1 or volume 2? What's the page?
Page 271, Your Honor, lines 2 through 4.
Is this Detective Flores testifying?
Sorry, yes, of course.
What lines?
2 through 4.
Fair game.
I'm gonna,
It's fair game.
Your Honor, can I?
Detective,
No.
you were asked by
You
the,
follow it up if you want.
did you ever ask Mr. Ephron if he had firearms back in 2021? Answer, not specifically. Now, you were here the other day when it was revealed that Mr. Ephron was on a firing range in Los Angeles in October, late October 2021, correct?
Correct.
By the way, the search of the house had 21 officers, more or less.
More or less.
When you spoke to Mr. Ephron on November 9th, 2021, Mr. Ephron told you that he believed he was grazed on his left hand knuckle area.
Object, seems facts and non-evidence. I'm not talking about anything.
I'm sorry? He did not lie?
You have to inquire whether he said that. You're saying when when the detective spoke to him, it assumes that that's what Ephron said. So ask him if Ephron said that.
Okay, this is short.
I know.
Okay. So on November 9th, 2021, did Mr. Ephron tell you that he believed he was grazed on his left knuckle area?
Yes,
And despite supposedly being grazed by a bullet on November 6, 2021, Mr. Ephron did not seek medical attention until returning to New York.
that's my understanding, yes.
And even though Mr. Ephron waited to fly across country to receive medical treatment, obviously there are hospitals in Los Angeles that could have treated him, his injury, whatever it was.
Yes, sir.
Fact is, Mr. Ephron only went to the hospital after Detective Manafee on November 9, 2021, during a phone call, told him that he needs to go get medical attention or medically treated because of the type of case that this is, correct?
Objection, calls for speculation.
Okay, Your Honor, there's a tape in evidence that I'll play a portion of. We have the clip.
I would object, it's hearsay.
In evidence.
The jury's already heard. So
Well, it's in evidence.
technically, it is hearsay. Go on to something else. The jury's already heard it. You can play it in final argument.
Okay, did you hear it? Did you hear it?
I remember the comment, I can remember that line of questioning, and I think I made a comment prior to that as well.
Okay.
And I think in the context that he was making a comment about his injury, and I think I also suggested he should get it looked at, and I think that's when Detective Menifee also made her statement.
Her statement was that he needs to go get medically treated because of the type of case that this is, correct?
I believe that's the context.
And with regard to his statements, Mr. Ephron first reported this incident to the police, again, just to be clear, 2 days later, November 8, 2021.
Correct.
He didn't call 911,
No,
didn't go to the police on November 6, 2021.
that's correct.
Waited 2 days before reporting to law enforcement.
Yes, sir.
And when he did finally walk to a police station in Los Angeles to report it to law enforcement, he did so in person with his attorney, Brian Hurwitz.
Yes.
Brian
You were
Hurwitz.
here last week when Mr. Ephron testified on cross-examination that he did not recall telling law enforcement that he told an attorney, Brian Hurwitz, who told him to retrieve the shell casings from the scene. Were you here, sir?
Object is to relevance.
That's bad for your case.
I believe I was.
But when Mr. Ephron reported the incident to the police, he did, in fact, make that claim, correct? He told the police that after the alleged shooting, he called attorney Brian Hurwitz, and that Mr. Hurwitz told him to return to the scene of the altercation and retrieve the shell casings. Do you remember that?
Vague
Sure.
as to what he's talking about. Vague, Your Honor.
Read it back, please.
When Mr. Ephron reported the incident to the police, he did in fact make that claim, correct? He told the police that after the alleged shooting, he called attorney Brian Horowitz, and that Mr. Horowitz told him to return to the scene of the altercation and retrieve the shell casings.
What's the legal name?
Vague. He's saying
It is, yeah.
police.
It is.
He told you that Brian Hurwitz, his attorney, instructed him to return to the scene to retrieve the shell casings, correct?
I'm trying to recall the exact context. I know he made several calls, and he was given advice to go back. I don't remember the sequence of phone calls with Mr. Horowitz.
Okay, let me see if I can refresh your recollection. I'm going to show you your report.
Okay.
75, it's the August 5th, 2022.
Is this the first page?
Second page.
So we're,
Yeah. Bear with me 1 second, Your Honor. I'm trouble seeing this.
object as to who we approach.
Anything can be used to refresh recollection.
Your Honor, you've already ruled on this, that's my issue. I don't want to do a speaking objection, you want to just briefly approach.
Yes.
All right, so while they're approaching, just so you guys know, court is going to be dark tomorrow. So, and that'll mean whatever they're working on, or if they're working on something at all, it's not like testimony is going to actively happen. So timeline is shifting. Nancy Dillon's reporting that dark tomorrow will resume Thursday. Prosecution is now expected to rest the case Thursday. Let's see. Before the jury entered, it sounded like something happened with DDA Lewin's schedule. So something came up unexpectedly. So again, them going dark tomorrow might just be no court at all because Lewin has to do something else. So, and I'm sure if there's anything else, we'll hear about it. There we go. If you guys want to give Nancy... I've seen Nancy do reporting on several other interesting cases as well. So in addition to information about the ASAP Rocky trial, she's worth a follow. I definitely think she's worth a follow. So yeah, so all of that about, you know, maybe 12E taking the stand tomorrow, not a possibility. Not a possibility. Very interesting, the prosecution. Well, I guess maybe the prosecution tried to interview 12E, but the police don't try to speak to or reach out to 12E. And that's interesting because the detective's like, even though we had it wrong in the report and said, you know, Illz had the knife, we know that on November 8th, when Relli first speaks to police, he doesn't mention a knife at all. And then we get this mention of a knife and 12E when he's sitting with Flores and the other officer looking through this video footage, right? So that could explain why we don't hear about a knife on the 8th. But you would think if the detective remembers Relli talking about 12E 2 different times, on the 9th and then also on December 17th, when they meet again at the police station and they start looking through these videos, you would think the detectives would make that a person of interest. He's in the video. He's in all parts of the video. Like, he's at the parking garage, and then he's at the intersection of Vista Del Mar, Selma and Vista Del Mar. They just don't think to look into that. But they go out of their way to get a search warrant for Ill's phone. So I don't know. Star Vision says, wait, so if Relli didn't hear back from his lawyer till the next morning, around 6:40 a.m., then what lawyer told him to go back and get the casings 1 hour after the incident, as he says, when he went to get them? That's a huge problem, and it's something that Relli got caught up with at the preliminary hearing, and it was memorialized in an article that Relli was clearly aware of before he finished his testimony, because he retweeted the article in November 2023. And it seems like he's aware that he had to be ready for that inconsistency to be called out when he was on the stand, when Joe pointed it out with him. So big detail there. You said you go down there. Your lawyer told you to go back to the scene and collect the casings yourself. And not only does that seem weird to me, just in general, but we have evidence contradicting that.
So this is going to show you so you know what it is. Okay. Just read this part here. 3 processes. Just a bunch of stuff down. Having read that, does it refresh your recollection that Mr. Ephron mentioned that he was told by his attorney to return to the scene of the altercation and retrieve the gun case?
Yes.
That's not what that even says, Your Honor. And the court read it.
You want me to read verbatim? You just said yes, first of all. That's exactly
The answer yes?
The answer is yes.
Go on to something. The objection's overruled.
What is going on?
you and Detective Manfrey eventually interviewed Mr. Ephron's attorney, Brian Hurwitz, on March 22nd.
Objection to all this.
Sustained.
In any event, law enforcement secured Mr. Ephron's phone records from the night of the incident, November 6, 2021.
Correct.
And the incident happened at 10:17 p.m. lasted, that's I think we established 25 seconds more or less. Sir?
Yes, roughly from one incident to the second incident to the end.
And as you say, Mr. Ephron, an individual returned to the scene at 11:09, correct?
Correct. Based on the video camera.
Based on the video camera. And you'd agree, by the way, that Mr. Ephron's phone records do not show a single call between him and Brian Hurwitz between 10:17 and 11:09.
Not that I recall, no, sir.
And in fact, Mr. Hurwitz's phone number, which in one of your reports, I'm not going to say it out loud here, appears in Mr. Ephron's phone records on November 10th, 2021 at 12:19 p.m. LA time.
I'm not sure about the exact dates, objectives.
So,
I'm not exactly sure about the date and time of that first call with Mr. Hurwitz on that line.
okay. You want to stick with it, then you can show them the report. The time.
I will not.
This, if I can speak this along. Do you remember, in search of Mr. Ephron's phone records, there not being a call to Mr. Hurwitz until a few days later?
I recall some point after. Yes.
After.
Correct.
All right, that's, you know what, that's fine.
At least directly, that show up directly.
Right. But certainly not on November 6th, going into the morning of November 7th.
Again, nothing directly.
Directly as opposed to indirectly.
A three-way call, somebody, three-way to call, anything like that.
Did you see any indication of three-way call on the phone records?
I don't know that it would necessarily reflect three-way calls, just a direct call to somebody. But again, not that I'm aware of until after.
Well, did you see any calls between the time of 10:17 and 11:09, for example? Was that wrong?
I don't recall seeing any calls between that time.
As detective, you'd agree, when conducting an investigation of an alleged shooting, you wouldn't want anyone who's not law enforcement moving evidence or taking evidence from the scene, right?
Correct.
Because that could tamper with and hinder your investigation.
It can.
Now, you interviewed Mr. Ephron's girlfriend, correct?
Correct.
Ms. Parker.
Yes.
You never took Ms. Parker's phone?
No.
Okay.
What Ms. Parker
so
say?
obviously you never examined it to see what texts or calls have been made from it.
Not from her phone, physically, no.
You said you saw the videos in this case,
Yes.
all of them.
Yes.
You never saw a video with Ms. Parker returning to the scene.
None that were collected, no.
And I want to ask a question, but I'm not one where I'm out of the court's ruling, and it's a question that would be prejudicial to them if I asked it and you.
All right, why don't you come on up, off the record, let me know what it is.
Yeah.
Judge is getting down off the bench again, you guys. He's down off the bench. He was quick with it too. He's already stepping down like the little stairs to get up there as he's saying, "All right, let me see it. Let me see it." Oh my goodness. I mean, it is a small courtroom. I don't know. Maybe it's just easier that way, but it's interesting to see. Now this is a pretty important line of questioning. They're devoting a lot of time to this attorney time frame. We're getting into conversations about Lydia Parker, Gemma Jones. Yeah, Gemma something. The girlfriend that, Takapina has information about the cash payment. So maybe they're coming from these statements. Maybe Lydia volunteered this stuff to the defense or both. But Lydia has said some stuff. Some information has to have come from Lydia. I don't know if they're still together because Relli on the stand last week said that it was his girlfriend, not ex-girlfriend. I don't know. Oh, we're back off the sound. Oh, we're back. Oh my gosh. A deep sigh.
You saw that, I think we discussed, I don't know if Mr. Persona played it for you, but the in-person interview with Mr. Ephron in December of 2021, where you showed the video of what was initially him returning to the scene. You saw that here?
Correct.
Okay. And when he was watching the video, he said initially that was him, correct?
Yes, that's what, he indicated by the form of the question. You're talking about the interview on December 17th?
The interview on December 17th regarding the person returning at 11:09.
Correct.
He said that was him, right?
That was, again, what he was indicating in the form of his questioning.
You heard Mr. Ephron's testimony regarding that and the evolution of that belief. He first testified here before the jury that that was him. And Mr. Persona asked him if he was sure that that was him. You recall that, and then he subsequently changed to that's not. It's not argument. That's saying it's not right.
Sustain to the word evolution.
Changed? Changed.
Emphasize it.
Synonym for evolution. Changed into it wasn't. You saw that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And you heard Mr. Ephron say his girlfriend was there, but he then said maybe she was in the parking lot. You remember Mr. saying that?
Correct.
Meaning that may be the reason why she's not on video?
Correct.
Okay. And then Mr. Persona asked him about the clothes being different, like he did with you just now. You remember what Mr. Ephron initially said?
Objection, relevance, and hearsay.
He was just asked on the record.
I don't recall his exact response.
The American saying, I'm sure that was me, but I probably went and changed my clothes. You remember testifying to that?
I'm sorry, I don't, sir.
Okay, it's okay. During your in-person interview with Mr. Ephron on December 2021, you asked him why he continued to follow Mr. Mayor's people he had a gun, right?
Yes.
Because according to you, you told him that would seem to be an odd thing to do.
Yes.
Okay. And when you asked him that, why did he continue to follow Mr. Mayers after seeing a gun, Mr. Ephron couldn't give you a clear answer. What he said was, I don't know why.
Objection, argument, and hearsay.
The first part of the question is argumentative. Excuse me. The first part of the question is argumentative. The second part is not. Read the question back.
What was just on that one? Not for argument.
When you asked him that, why did he continue to follow Mr. Mayers after seeing a gun? Mr. Ephron couldn't give you a clear answer. What he
Yeah,
said,
That part.
That part about Ephron couldn't give it.
You get what I just asked.
Ask the question again.
I'm going to ask it again. When you asked Mr. Ephron, why did he continue to follow Mr. Mayers after seeing a gun, what he said was he didn't know why.
Correct.
With respect to the video recovered in this case, which you've seen the image of Mr. Mayers holding an object, which according to you appears to be a gun, you'd agree, without having that object, you cannot help that it's an operable gun, correct?
On the first incident,
Yes, sir.
yes,
On the video where you see Mr. Mayers holding what appears to be a gun.
correct. On the parking structure, the first video camera, yes. I
Right.
mean, without anything else appearing on that video other than him holding what I believe to be a handgun, I cannot determine whether or not that's an operational gun or a firearm gun, correct.
And with regard to the video incident, after reviewing the footage captured from 16 Vista Del Mar, that law enforcement prepared a document entitled Video Download Information Summary. Remember that?
Yes,
And in that document, law enforcement described what it could observe in the footage. Which one? Hearsay or Hearsay. You prepared a document describing what you could observe in the video footage, correct?
correct. Notes that kind of detail what specifically can timestamp at certain points of different angles, angle for angle, and then obviously looking at everything collectively from all the angles together.
And, for example, what you saw appeared to be a struggle on the street at 2217.
Correct.
Specifically, what that video shows is Mr. Ephron apparently struggling with Illz, they said Illz.
Yes,
And you also detailed approximate distances observed within the video, right?
roughly.
And you listed various times of various events seen on the video.
Correct.
You described that as a subject, you described that a subject was in a dark colored jacket or sweater.
Correct.
In preparing the report, obviously you want to document anything that you observed on the video which was considered important with respect to the case.
Yeah, just give it a rough timestamp of what the events took place, and to give it a holistic view at the end of which we can look at all the pieces together and tell the story.
But in the report, you didn't want to leave anything important out.
Well, again, these are just notes to mark timestamps. So, yes, what I thought was important relative to that frame.
And clearly, as part of the investigation you take before us, if a gun or a shooting were observed on the video from 1616 Vista Del Mar, that's something you would have documented in your summary, correct?
Again, sir, it's collectively. I mean, that's part of A, where the incident began, where we observed a gun. B, where the struggle took place, and you can see various individuals running in different directions. And then as we move up, collectively, we see the next video with sound, where we can hear the gunshots. I mean, it's collectively, not just one piece.
Okay, so let me just make sure you understood my question.
Okay.
Again.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. We don't restart that. Clearly, as part of the investigation, if a gun or a shooting were observed on the video from 1616 Vista Del Mar, that's something you would have documented in a summary. Yes?
Yes,
That's it. But that summary that you have, by the way, certainly does not document that a shooting was observed, right?
I mean, not from that angle. It's documented what can actually be observed from that angle, which is, I mean, the view is fuzzy. It gives you an overview of the motion that's going on. But again, pieced together with everything else, it's
But that document, that summary, does not document that a shooting was observed, right?
correct. It does not.
In fact, that summary does not even document that a gun was observed in the video from 1616 Vista Del Mar.
Correct, that first angle, correct.
So you agree there's, in the video, from the video, there's no evidence in the video from 1616 Vista Del Mar that an actual gun was being discharged, correct?
Judge, relevance and investigation itself.
Nothing that I could observe in detail that I can see as a gun. Again, it's in frame with everything else, maybe.
Well, here's my question.
Correct.
Okay. These are, my question.
All right, sir.
All right? Almost done. You'd agree from the 1616 Vista Del Mar video, that's that video. The one that shows the whole struggle and all the fuzzy stuff, right? You'd agree that there is no evidence from that video of an actual gun being discharged, correct?
Correct, from that view by itself, no.
The sequence surveillance video that you put together overlaps video from the 1616 BC Del Mar video with the audio from the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video.
Correct.
All right. And that's the People's Exhibit 15, is that right? 15, okay. And you did that, right? You basically overlapped the video from 1616 BC Del Mar that had no audio, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the audio from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard.
Correct.
And you put them together. And you agree that the 1616 BC Del Mar video, you just said this doesn't have any sound, but the video from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard does.
That's correct.
So you overlapped the videos from each location, trying to show when the shot would have occurred during the 1616 BC Del Mar video.
Correct.
Okay. Of course, if the overlap detected is off, even by a fraction of a second, the shot would not have occurred during the precise moment shown on the overlap 1616 BC Del Mar video, correct?
Correct.
And with regard to the 6200 Hollywood Boulevard video, you extracted 3 sets of videos from 3 different cameras maintained by the business at that location.
Correct.
And it's been stipulated, you heard of that, if we agree
Yes, sir.
on something, it's been agreed that the date and timestamp on the 3 cameras from 6200 Hollywood Boulevard are approximately 2 to 3 minutes faster than actual time.
That's correct.
And the reason the cameras are approximately 2 to 3 minutes faster than actual time instead of the exact amount is because each camera's off from an actual time by a different amount.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's not unusual when we collect video.
That's unusual. Okay. I'm saying the reason that you're using a range of 2 to 3 minutes as opposed to 2 minutes and 4 seconds is because each of those cameras is off from actual time by a different amount.
Yes.
For instance, on camera 1, you hear the first shot at 10, 15, 53 seconds. Hold on before we play it. We have to mark this. This is a defense exhibit.
Your Honor, I'm going to object as to this states the stipulation. He's saying the video from 6200 Hollywood was off by 2 to 3 minutes. He's talking about the business, the parking lot entrance, and the
Flores, why don't you two confer? If I don't need to get involved, I don't want to get involved.
I mean, that just makes it a little bit more confusing. Important to get it right, but that just made me hear the 2 to 3 minutes one more time by him repeating the speaking objection. So right there, I think the prosecutor would have been good to follow his own advice and not do a speaking objection.
The one that's off 2 to 3 minutes is this one. Yes. You guys didn't know it was actually.
Alex with the shades. Yeah, this isn't very quiet.
Off the record, based on like what we just got here. You want us? Yeah.
All right. So they're going off the record. It sounds like maybe they're not coming to an agreement on which video is the one that it seems like the state was willing to stipulate to a particular video being off by up to 2 to 3 minutes.